So this is the chart for Mickey Mouse. You're going to click the Carestream Dental Imaging Software button. And you can use this button to get to any x-rays anywhere on any chart. Since we're doing a CBCT, it's the 3D x-ray. We're going to select the 3D button. The machine's going to get in its initial position. You have the option to select how they bite, if they're in a standard bite, if they have a lot of overbite, or if they have a protrusive bite, the general shape of their jaw, and then the size of your patient. This is going to be your average adult, small adult, large child, small child. This is going to be your larger adult.
That second picture is the vault, I believe. Is how, do you have a U-shaped vault, a V-shaped vault?
For the palate?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is actually for the shape of their jaw.
Is
so
it?
If they have more of a triangular jaw,
Okay.
or standard rounded jaw, or if it's a real square,
Okay.
real square jaw.
I thought it was the vault, sorry.
So depending on which of these selections you change, that'll change your radiation parameters. The majority of our patients have been standard adult, round jaw, regular bite. Then you select program. This will allow you, if you want to take a CBCT of a single tooth, it will only show you what looks like the lower jaw, but you can use it for the upper jaw as well. Just knowing that this is going to be your right side, this is going to be your left side of the mouth. Okay, so it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 through 16, and then 17, 18, 19, 20, all the way back around to 32. So if you're going to take a single tooth CBCT, you click the X in the middle here, and you're going to drag it to that tooth that you're going to take. So
that would be 3 or 30.
Or 30.
Okay.
Once you have that positioned over the tooth that you're going to take, click the green check mark, and it's going to reposition the machine to capture that tooth. If you want to take an entire arch or
Quadrant?
just a quadrant, click on this one with the 3 targets here, and you'll see that it pulls up 1, 2, 3 targets. If you only want to do one quadrant, so one side, you can deselect the other side. This will scan everything on the right side up to the midline.
Do you need to move that target back to the last place or just leave it in place?
This little one here that moved, since we had positioned it before, if we want to just do this entire quadrant, now we can click that button and it will recenter it back to here. So now it will take.
And you don't have to move the one that's kind of over 3 all the way back. You just leave it there.
You can't.
It doesn't move. Okay.
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
You notice how it sits, guys? It sits on the lingual of the tooth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the X is on the lingual, and that's a big deal. It took us a long time to figure that one out.
Okay. So this will take the entire lower or upper arch as set. This will take the upper or lower right quadrant. And this will take the upper or lower left quadrant.
And you just clicked on it to make it go away, huh?
Is there a way to take both upper and lower right side at the same time? Is that a possibility?
No, you have to do one arch at a time.
Gotcha.
So right now we're set for an entire lower or upper arch. So we'll click the check mark. It did the beep in the back saying, yes, I'm in the right position. Now the computer is set up to take this image. Now we have to set up the machine. Switch this out. This is the panel holder. We'll need to switch it out for the CBCT holder. It's clear. So you can see there's a difference with the CBCT holder, just in how they bite and how it positions the patient. So you pop it in all the way until it clicks in. Make sure you have your barrier. We'll barrier the bite block and both handle positions. Make sure you protect your patient. Okay. Now the setting that we use for the CBCT, you can see on here, this says 2D and 2D. This is two-dimensional. That's going to be your pano setting here. This one says 3D and it's got a lower tooth on it. This one says 3D and it's got an upper tooth. This will determine where you position your chin rest to capture this particular CBCT image. If we're going to be doing a lower tooth or a lower quadrant or arch, we want to adjust the chin rest to the point where it covers up, and you want to get down level.
Guys, right now take your
With this
cameras
one.
and go level, because it looks different when you get level. If you sit up above, you get a different reading.
Okay. So if you come level with this surface here, you'll see that it covers up all of the dots for the lower.
Watch, if you take your camera and you start moving it up, you're going to see more lines. It's
Right.
going to look in a different position, so you have to be level straight on.
Okay, so if you're level and it's covering up all of the dots for that lower, that will tell you what you're going to include in your image. Meaning, now you will see everything, every part of that tooth from crown to root tip. So you want those lines all covered up. If we're doing an upper quadrant tooth or arch, we want to lower this down until there's about 4 or 5 lines showing.
Why do you leave lines showing on the top but not the bottom?
It's the way that this particular machine behaves.
Okay.
So,
it's
if we cover it all the way up, sometimes we end up with cut off crowns and a lot of sinus,
Okay.
which is not always beneficial information for us.
Sure.
So if we want just from the root tips to include the root tips and the full crown, leaving about 4 lines
Just a few showing.
showing
For a top tooth.
for a top tooth. That's the setting you want. Okay, so let's say we're going to do an upper full arch now. Okay, if you look at the position of the patient, in order for them to bite on that bite stick, they're going to have to go way down like this. Right? So we use our machine height adjustment to bring that into line with the patient. Upper arch or lower arch, we want the occlusal plane of those teeth to be parallel with the floor. Okay, so
Let me talk about that just for 1 second. It's been a huge problem. When we go like this on the X-ray, I'm no longer parallel with the floor, right? So when we take this X-ray and the patient isn't parallel, you'll be missing. This will be below your line. This will be up too high, and so you won't have the occlusal surface. It won't fit on the X-ray is only this big, and when we go like this, these teeth will be missing. Okay, so it's been a big problem to get to where we're parallel. My jaw, my teeth, this thing is parallel with the floor. It is a big deal. What are you trying to capture on this X-ray? You are trying, the root tips have to be on there, and the crowns all have to be on there. They can't be cut off at the cusp. You know that you have to have darkness under all of the crown cusp tips. Okay, doesn't have to be much. You know, a couple millimeters, but all of the tooth has to be in on that X-ray. All of the teeth. I.e., when they're making a surgical guide, if we don't have that, they can't make the surgical guide because the surgical guide is made to fit on the cusp tips of the teeth. Okay, so that's why we're trying to do that.
and that's also why we leave it a little high, so that it shows root tips and entire crown. So in this case, we're close right now. You see we're close. So we'll have to still position this a little bit higher. What you want to do is have your patient sit up as tall as they can, drop their shoulders down. Okay. Then we're going to press these guys to open the temple rest. And at the same time, we'll have the patient scoot forward into the machine, bite right on the plate, and you want their top teeth to be locked right on the edge of that little rim that's on there. Okay? So now, if you have your patient while they're biting on there, have your patient smile as wide as they can so we can see teeth. Go ahead and smile. Now you can see the occlusal plane of those top teeth is parallel to the floor. Right? So he's positioned on the machine correctly. You can have your patient close their eyes. Go ahead and close your eyes. And you can pull up your laser positioner, and we'll notice that this line is just off center a little bit. So we can turn our patient's head that way. Now you can see that line runs right down the
And
middle.
what button is the laser beam?
It's the one with
plus.
the crosshairs.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, do you want to make sure that that's like if we have crooked noses or anything like that? Like not only watching midline of the face, but also midline of the arch.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you want it right down the midline of the face. It should line up with the midline of the arch.
Perfect.
But the midline of the arch is the more important aspect.
So if they have a Tom Cruise deviation, you're going
Right.
to change it.
Correct. All right. So the last part, since we have your patient sitting up nice and tall, is physically bring your patient's hands up to the hand grip.
And it's an under grip,
'Cause-
not an over grip.
Right, because they're not going to know where that is. The key to the under grip is that it causes their shoulders to come down, whereas if they're here, that forces their
Sure.
shoulders up. So you want their shoulders down, out of the way of the machine rotating around. Now the patient is fully set to do an upper tooth arch or quadrant. then you would instruct your patient, okay, I'm going to start the scan at this point. All you have to do, just keep your eyes closed. I tell them to keep their eyes closed because otherwise, as the machine's going around, they have a tendency to want to follow.
Watch it.
If they keep their eyes closed, they just hear the machine going, but they're not trying to follow it with their head. Okay? So then you would exit the room, close the door so that we're not sending scatter radiation out into the clinic, and you push and hold the exposure button for the entire time that it's moving. You cannot let it go at any point during the scan. So for an entire arch, it's going to have you do 3 separate scans, and it will tell you to release the hand switch in between each interval. For a quadrant, it will do 2, and for a single tooth, it will do 1 pass.
And we'll have to just watch the computer screen to see when
You
it
need
says
to watch
release.
the computer screen while you're scanning.
Is it always like a forward motion? Because I know some panos, they move forward and back, and you have to wait till that little back motion to let go. Is this
Right,
one just
and
one
this-
continuous, or does it do that?
It does just like the pano,
Okay.
where it will come around and then kind of reposition, and it'll tell you to release the hand switch.
Okay, then it'll go again.
Then you can release this hand switch. It's going to reposition itself for the next pass. You push the hand switch. It does its next pass. It'll tell you to release. It will reposition itself and then tell you to press the hand switch again. Okay? So, now everything's set up. All we have to do now is just follow the program. That's it.
Guys, when you have them bite, I can bite on my back teeth, which then leaves my front teeth up high. Okay, so we really want, if my back teeth and my front teeth can be parallel to the floor, that'll give us a pretty nice X-ray. So when you bite,
Put the whole thing in the mouth?
watch the angle. I mean, I just have to do a little bit of a movement. You guys have to tell me. I don't know where I am this way, anterior, posterior. I don't know, but watch it's a little bit of angle where I have to move forward so I get as much front tooth touching the tray. Which mostly ends up being my canines in my case.
Okay.
But when I first bite, my head's back a little bit, and it's just my back teeth on the tray, and then I move forward a little bit, and that makes my front teeth come back down. Because we're trying to get everything parallel with the floor. As many teeth as we can, back teeth and front teeth touching. In my case, my canines will touch, and my incisors, I don't feel them touching. They must be close. But
Okay. And so that's
But
that
just
way.
see that little
forward.
bit?
Yeah.
Right. That way, when you position your patient and have them close down, you can scoot them all the way back to that ridge, to where that ridge is
No,
right
that's
behind
good.
their anteriors.
now I feel it on my front teeth too. And maybe that's a question to ask. Can you feel like you're biting on your front and your back teeth?
Okay.
Because when you did it the first time, I couldn't feel my front, but when you moved me back that time, I could feel it.
So
So
you
maybe
weren't biting
come forward, bite, and slide back, because that ridge will catch behind the front teeth.
No, I'm really straight.
Yeah. And if you look and you have them smile as big as they can. Go ahead and smile. And you can see now that the plane of the teeth is parallel to the floor. Okay. But if you look at the bottom teeth, they're not. So
There'll
it
be a
has-
different adjustment,
it has
top
to
and
be
bottom.
positioned just a little bit different. So if you're doing bottom teeth and you have them smile, that's when you want to look at their bottom teeth.
Okay.
If you get them in the machine and you notice you have them smile, and now you can see that it's angled down, the plane of the teeth is angled down, all you have to do is bring that
Just a skosh.
bring that back up. Okay? You don't want to adjust the chin rest, you want to adjust the whole machine. Okay?
You want to try it?
You want to?
Well, If we do it, why would we do it? We would do it because you guys may not have seen the machine move. You may not see the screen that says stop and go, because you have to do that. And it's uncomfortable, I think, when people do this because they don't know when to let go of the button. And so I think knowing when to let go of the button is a good thing to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, Dan?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
We could do that without my head actually in there, but then you wouldn't know if it came out okay. But if we took one, I could show you, and Dan could show you, what happens to bad x-rays, how we get tipped, and we don't end up with our teeth on there. But we want a good x-ray. It won't do us any good if the cuss tips are missing. So we have some things that are important to us, you know.
We
got
could
the
maybe
X-ray.
get that guy strapped into the machine, like I did with
Dexter?
the other Dexter.
I tried. You're welcome to try.
Okay.
I haven't been able to.